So when I got in, I was so excited. And a month later, I also got MasterCard Cambridge. And then a month later, I got MasterCard at Fox at Oxford. So then I was now faced with three choices to make.
Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time of seeing these beautiful faces, please don't make it your last by clicking on the subscribe button and giving this video a huge thumbs up if you end up finding it useful. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today's guest is a GATE Cambridge scholar and a Rhodes Scholarship finalist, as well as a dual admit to both Oxford and Cambridge. Give it up for Kamsi Walker. I know that intro I did not do enough justice to you. Can you give us a brief intro as to who Kamsi is?
Hi everyone, my name is Kamsi, and like you mentioned, I'm a GATE Cambridge scholar. So I'm doing an MPhil in medical science at the Cancer Research UK Cambridge Institute. So I'm basically researching on immune cells and how they interact with cancer and how we can target the immune cells for therapies to treat cancer.
I'm really excited to have you here. Did you always know you were going to apply to grad school? Was it something that you had thought of back in undergrad, or was it something that you thought of after you graduated?
Yeah. So I think from 300 level, I knew. Even before 300 levels, when I was coming to university, my cousin had told me that there were scholarships, but then it was majorly about other grad scholarships. But he also told me there were graduate scholarships, but I didn't pay attention because it was like reaching too far. I was still coming into undergrad. So I always knew about scholarships.
What informed your choice of schools, Cambridge and Oxford? Was there something special about these schools that stood out to you aside from their huge prestige?
Yeah. Okay, so the first year I applied to scholarships was immediately I finished. So I was doing my internship. So as a medical lab scientist, we have to do like a 1 year mandatory internship before service. So it was during that internship year. And then because all the information I was exposed to were information about scholars from Oxford, Rhodes Scholarship. I think that was like the first scholarship I came in contact with, and it felt so dreamy because I had been watching Harry Potter, and I liked, that magical look. So Oxford was like my top school at the time. I now knew about Cambridge second year, and I knew about it online. So I knew about it from my mentor. So he was doing his PhD in Cambridge in my lab. And he had studied at Oxford for his master's. So I was like, okay, Cambridge, and we have the same interest in cancer immunology. So that's when I knew about it, and then I read about it, and I saw that they even have an MPhil program. So I made the choice based on what was good for my goals, like my career, what I really wanted to do. I wanted to study cancer research. And the Cambridge program felt like a better fit.
How did you first hear about the Gates Cambridge Scholarship, and what made you decide to apply?
For Cambridge, they had scholarships that you had to make separate applications to, and there were also scholarships you didn't need to make applications to. You just get automatically considered for. So one of them was Gates, and then there was MasterCard Cambridge. So I applied to MasterCard, I applied to Gates Cambridge, and I got invited to interview. The interview didn't start well in my head. I felt like it was boring because I was speaking about my research. But towards the end of the interview, I started to feel like they were really excited when I was talking about other things I had done. So, and then I started feeling like, okay, this might be possible. I may get in. And so when I got in, I was so excited. And a month later, I also got MasterCard Cambridge. So I was like, okay. And then a month later, I got MasterCard at Fox at Oxford. So then I was now faced with three choices to make. The biggest decisions, choosing Gates Cambridge over MasterCard at Fox, not because of the scholarship, but because of the school. My major reason for choosing Cambridge was not just because of the scholarship. I told you it was because of the course. But again, why Gates Cambridge scholarship stood out to me was that first it gave me like an international exposure. So it's an international scholarship. I was going to have the international community, and I thought about how, of course, coming here I was going to have my Nigerian society, have my African, they would always be home. So okay, I could also have this other home where I would have the international exposure that I wanted. And I looked at the stipend, they were very similar. I felt I had a better chance with Gates if I wanted to do a PhD. So that's what informed my choice for Gates scholarship primarily.
Actually, with the three scholarships, so it's a good problem to have because you have to choose between these top programs. What was your application process like from drafting your research proposal, your statement of purpose to securing your recommenders? Were there any challenges you faced and how did you navigate them?
It's also stressful on every level. The most challenging thing for me during the process, out of other challenging things, would be actually recommendation letters. I had sweet recommenders, sweet referees, that's what I meant. But then it was still difficult because you had to play with their timeline, not just your timeline. But I think what helped me, because I had had the experience the first year, and I tried to start early. Personal statement was difficult, but not as difficult because I had, had prior exposure.
Yeah.
So I then started writing just to suit the prompts. Interviews was also another difficult part because now you're having to defend all the things you've said in your essay. You can always tell when somebody's passionate about something.
That's true.
You see it in how they speak about it. So I think that's just what they wanted to see.
Sometimes managing the recommenders can be like a full-time job on its own. Like you have to remind them and then give them like pointers. So I understand that the Gates Cambridge Scholarship shortlists applicants for an interview, and then you discuss your academic work, your career goals, and how that aligns with the Gates Cambridge values. What did the interview feel like, and how did you prepare for it?
The interview process was like, so it had like two parts. It's a panel interview, and then I interviewed virtually. So some people interviewed physically, but I interviewed virtually. And then we had like three people on the panel, and they had different panels. I was on the biological science panel, and then luckily I'd read about my panelists, and I saw that nobody was doing anything on cancer, but they were doing other related biomedical research for not necessarily on cancer. So I was like, okay, maybe this might be good or it might be bad. So at the end of the day, I wanted to sound as basic as possible, but also sound like I really knew what I was talking about. So the first part of my interview was going to be around my research. I had read all of my supervisor's papers. I kept reading things, watching YouTube videos. I even took like a short course on hedgehog. And then I had like jottings. The one thing I think that really made me feel like I was going to get in was when they were reading. They were like, "Oh, you mentioned something here about your podcast." It was just maybe 5 words in my essay. So I didn't even think they were going to like highlight it. They just mentioned that, oh, as part of my commitment to people's development, I also have a podcast, Let's Talk Scam Cam, where I share academic tips. Full stop. And then they were like, "Oh, you have a podcast. Can you tell us more about it?" Then I was like, "Oh wow." And then I just decided to just tell them exactly. So I started from how the podcast came to be. To them, it felt like huge impact. And Gates is all about impact. What they want to see is that you're really making impact, no matter how small the impact is. That was the best part of my interview for the Gates, and that was the last part. So it was good ending on that note. For my Gates interview, I also tried to tell myself that she tried to sound conversational, and thankfully my interview questions were nothing close to what I was preparing for. So because of that, I was forced to like think on the spot and be myself.
So after that, there was now a period of waiting.
Yeah.
How did the waiting feel? And do you remember where you were when you got that call or the email when you got the offer?
Okay, so it was very draining. I was waiting, I was praying, and then I got that email. I got the email at work.
Wow.
I didn't know how to act. I was like, do I scream? Do I maintain steeze? I went outside. I called like my mentors that had been with me. Then I bought shawarma. I went outside. I bought shawarma. I bought ice cream. I was like, okay, I've gotten this one. Yeah, like a month later, I had Mastercard.
Oh, yeah.
I gave it to. I showed my mom, and then when I got Oxford, I told her. My mom was like, "Oh wow, my daughter." She could not even keep the secret. My parents, they could not. They went around telling everybody that my daughter has 3 scholarships. What really solidified my choice was my mentor. So I had the mentor I told you that's also in my lab that had studied in Oxford for his master's. So I spoke to him. He didn't want to make a choice for me, but he listed out all the things I should consider. I'm still very happy with my choice because of things that have panned out like after my masters, because that's also another issue. After your masters, what next? So yeah, I think I'm where God wanted me to be.
And what would you say the experience of being at Cambridge is like compared to your previous institutions?
Very different. Here feels like a breath of fresh air in the sense that you're seeing a place that rewards excellence. a previous institution, it's not like they don't reward excellence, of course, because there's no way I would have graduated when they first started. They didn't reward excellence, but I had to fight through tooth and nail to be rewarded. Like in the sense that I would have issues with my course, maybe like we had issues where the entire department had like F, like total F, and of course it's a GS course. There's no way the department should have everybody failing. There should be a problem somewhere. So issues like that, and then they take it back, and then there's a lot of like you literally have to fight for everything. In our Nigerian schools, they're very smart. We have smart lecturers, smart students. Students are very smart. That's why when people come here, they thrive because we are smart people. But the environment is not enabling. But here, that's for me, that's the wide contrast. There's an enabling environment here. The environment, the structure is in a way that it allows you thrive. It allows you learn. It allows you make mistake. It doesn't punish you for learning. Doesn't nobody's out there to say, "Oh, I'm not going to take your script." The kind of technology I was exposed to back in school is very different. Like here, even things as simple as maybe like a flow cytometer is very different. I started learning things all over and all over again. So yeah, it's different. Infrastructure is different and all that. But yeah, this is what it is.
I mean, the system here is more like welcoming to like
Yeah.
having conversations with your lecturers as opposed to them just dictating
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the course is
exactly.
about. Like they're open to questions just so you understand the course better. It's like they want you to succeed.
Exactly.
What's one piece of advice you give to someone that's looking to apply to the Gates Cambridge Scholarship?
My best advice would be to try, give it a shot. Don't like sell yourself short. Don't shut the door on yourself. My advice would be as long as you see that you meet the minimum requirements, then give it your shot. Of course, it's different when they say they want you to have this grade and you don't have the grade and you apply. You know that okay, they've stated what they wanted. But as long as you have the minimum requirement, give it a shot. Don't sell yourself short. My popular quote is that I'll try, and if I fail, I'll try again. That's what I keep telling myself because you never know what could be until you've tried. You'd always say, "Oh, I wish I could do this," but you never know if you can actually do it. Like I would never have known that I could study in Oxford or in Cambridge and be where I am if I hadn't like tried. So it's better you try and you don't get it, and then you try and you don't get it. So that when you're telling your story, it's like, "Oh, I tried this, but it didn't work." Not that, "Oh, I wish I could have done this, but I didn't do it." So yeah, my advice would always be to try. The worst that would happen, that's the worst case scenario, is that you get rejection. That's the worst case scenario. And then the best case scenario is that you
get a fully funded offer.
You get a fully funded offer, and regardless, for me, you get a rejection, but again, in the process, you learn more about yourself. You learn with every new application you make. Like for me, that was also what I experienced. You get better, you get more clarity on what exactly mattered and what should you even start to sieve out things that shouldn't matter because you've thought about these things carefully. So that's what you could also get from each application you make. You get more clarity, even if you don't get. I know it's motivational, but that's the truth. Looking back, I think that the culmination of all these rejections and then understanding that having to have this interview and fail, you get better. You know that okay, I sounded like this. I shouldn't have said it this way. I shouldn't have brought it this way. I should have done this better. You get better. So that's the idea that you get to know more, but then you got a rejection. And then the best case scenario is that you're here and then you're like, I gave it my best shot. So yeah, I would say just apply.
Yeah, you never know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So just give it a shot. Don't self-reject. Yeah. Kamsi, it's been a pleasure having you on the channel. Where can people connect with you? They want to reach out to you.
So I think my LinkedIn is a good place to connect to me because I always every day I check my LinkedIn.
Okay. So I'll leave her LinkedIn on the screen. It's
Olivia Kamsi Mokas. It's just my full name. Yeah. Then my Instagram is there too. This period I'm busy, so if I don't respond, but I will definitely respond. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.